Hey everyone, and welcome to a semi probably rant at some point and a recap of what happened in day one of the motion hearings in the Karen Reed case. Remember, we are about to go live April 1st. Now it's time to bite down, knuckle through it. We had multiple outstanding motions to rule on. What did Bev do? Roughly 2 hours in court. I know that the special prosector Brennan had to be somewhere else, but dear Bev, I know this might come as a surprise for you, but look to the right of special prosector Brennan. You're right. You have a balding chain smoker sitting right there. Why can't he argue the motions? He did the first trial. Let's get on with it. You're constantly saying we have to be done by April 1st. Why are we taking half days? They have 3 people at the prosecution table. In Denmark, we have a saying, the prosecution can always attend a court hearing. Because it doesn't matter if it's special prosector Brennan or if it's Lally, they are part of the same team. If special prosector Brennan got sick, well, someone else has to do their job. The state have all the money, the state have all the prosectors. They can just get their behind in front of you and argue. But no. Beverage Bev takes half days and 2-hour days. But what did we get closure on? Well, first of all, we started the day with Bev clearly showing that anyone who called her biased were right. She started yelling at Karen's team. They had lied to her. They had been unfaithful. The only thing we have to rely on is the truthfulness of lawyers. She gave Karen the option to throw AJ off the team. She didn't do that. She talked about sanctions and she might not get the ARCA guys in. And then she allowed the ARCA guys in and potentially will give sanctions down the road. So a whole lot of huffing and puffing about these unethical ways that the defense have talked about the ARCA and the relationship with them. But Bev, just before you see Alessi, do you see a guy sitting there with his designer glasses and his stupid haircut? That guy's special prosector, Brennan. Do you remember 3 weeks ago when you lost your shit because you were lied to about the involvement with ARCA, which, if you look at the timeline, don't make any sense. But they paid a bill 3 weeks after the court ended. There's no indication that they had any other communication with them other than, do you want me to talk about this? Which should be allowed for a lawyer to talk to their witness. They didn't talk about the substance in the testimony, but no. You yelled at AJ. You wanted to throw him out. You called him unethical. You put a stain on their record that will carry out of your courtroom. On the word of special prosector Brennan, a man who multiple times had to correct the record because this guy gave you BS and you ran with it. I know that you don't care 2 cents about justice in your courtroom. You are so heavily biased. Yesterday you were talking about how the entire world is covering this case. Do you know why we can grift off this case? It's because you make it a drama. If you had just done your job and given Karen Reed a first trial that was fair, we wouldn't have picked up another 20 streamers covering this case. This is a simple hit and run case. A case that should have taken 1 week and it had been done. It should never, ever have seen a courtroom with the facts in the case. But even with a shitty prosecution, this should have been a 1 week case. But you allowed the drama to start. You allowed the circus to come to town. You are the one who can't handle a simple hit and run case. And what do when you get flustered because all of your biases are being talked about by idiots in Denmark or great people in America? You use it against the defense because you don't know how to run your courtroom. You thought this was going to be such a simple case, pin it on the girl, and we're out of here. Could you at least try to be fair? I know you can't. I know this ship has sailed. But some of us still hope that you have a little bit, just a little teensy bit of fairness in your body. You claim that the defense made misrepresentations, that the defense broke ethical rules. Go back and watch yourself. You are so highly biased. You are the one who made this into a circus. You're the one that made all the people stand outside of the courtroom. You're the one that gave all of us grifters a lot of work. You're the one. Everything's on you because you're so effing biased and you can't make a decision. Sorry, back to the decisions. The Arca guys, she allowed them in after scolding the defense team like they were kids. And Bev, I'm not sure you should have done that because Special Protector Brennan has been a douche canoe towards the defense. They tried to play nice with him. New Protector, we're gonna see if we can get a working relationship. We know lawyers, they'll yell at each other in court and then have a beer after because they have a working relationship, just like you have with that guy you don't really like at work, but you'll have a beer with him. They tried to give Brennan that courtesy and he shat all over it. And then you piled on yesterday and you could tell all the way through the 2 hours of court yesterday. Alessi was fired up. AJ was fired up. Everyone is in the trenches now. This is going to be worse than the first trial. And it's all because of bias Bev. Dr. Wolf, the brain surgeon. The defense argues he doesn't have any of the qualifications that Bev set out that you need to testify in her courtroom about wound causation. Hank, I don't know if Hank don't care or if Hank thinks this a retirement post or he hasn't found out that probably before the day was over yesterday, somewhere between 100 and 200,000 people had seen him argue because he said he's way better than a pathologist to determine wounds because he works on the internals of the brain. And because he had worked on a lot of people and some of them survive. Pathologists only treat dead people. I don't know, Special Protector Brennan. Do you treat dead people? I know you never went to medical school. What am I to say? I'm a stupid baker. But I'm pretty sure there's no reason to treat dead people. I did take some first aid back in the day. And when they're gone, they're gone. But his argument was, well, just trust me. He is the best guy in the world. And the defense said, no, you have to prove he's a good guy. Nah, don't want to do it. We won't know if he's going to be alive. Then they talked about showing some demonstratives to Christina Hunley. She's the woman who talked about all the glass. And I can't figure out if they mean glass as in all the glass found or the glass and the tail light, which is plastic. But they wanted to show demonstratives. He didn't mind the demonstratives, but he wants some words pulled out, and it couldn't be put into evidence, so it could go back with the juror. No decision. Prior bad acts, they wanted to talk about Richard Green having a conviction for nothing in the past. He's not going to use it in the court. Also, the Aruba incident, all of a sudden, remember how important they were to show how bad a person Karen Read was. So those two girls, where one of them was the one waving to her peeps on television, they won't be called back. The Sullivan sisters, I believe their name is. They won't be called back in the case of in chief. So he's still probably holding out to put them on as rebuttal to try and smear her reputation. The defense wanted a view at Fairview like they had the last time, with Karen Read present. Hanky Panky said, I want to do a view, but I don't want the car there. Which is weird because the Commonwealth was the one arguing that car should be there the first time. I still want to go see Fairview 34 because everyone says when you see the front yard, it's deceptively small. You think it's way bigger than it is. And I think it's necessary to have the car there to try and figure out, okay, here's Higgins' Jeep that apparently materialized during the first trial. This is the way she had to pull up, and I think they need the car there. Then they had the argument about keeping the McCapes out because a juror who talked to Vanity Fair had complained that they felt intimidated by the McCapes. Again, Brennan, I don't know if he just don't care. I at this point, I don't even think he's stupid. I think he just don't care about facts. He's just coming in there slinging shit. Because he claimed, well, they are allowed to bring in family and support for the O'Keefe family. They are. Tell me one person in the McAlbert's clan who knew who Peggy O'Keefe was before they started love bombing her after John had passed away. One of them. Chris Albert got John's phone number on the day off. Remember, his best friend in the whole world, they were so good friends, he didn't even have his phone number. Mr. Nebbercracker, oh, we looked after his house for him. That's why we made that funny video and picture outside of his house. That family is so close to Peggy O'Keefe. Funny how John's dad doesn't show up to court anymore. I hope he's in good health. That's not the reason. Maybe he's a bit tired of his family. And probably the stupidest thing, because Hanky Panky is complaining that witnesses get intimidated, he then kind of said, well, jurors should just suck it up and allow Brian Albert to sit over there staring at them menacingly. They shouldn't be intimidated by anyone in the courtroom. You shouldn't allow anyone to show that attitude. You would have complained about it if it was your case, hypocrite. They talked about wadeering the jury in panels. That's where you fill up the courtroom, ask everyone. At one time, Bev didn't want to do it because she was afraid it'll turn into a freak show because of all the attention. Maybe don't be an idiot then. Then we had the witness harassment, where Brennan, again, effing lied. He should have sanctions for the way he acted yesterday. He stands up and claims that AJ smeared witnesses in the court that day. He did no such thing. Brennan can't stay close to the truth even if he was shackled to it. And he's standing there saying, well, AJ, the defense. No one interrupts him and said, that's not what was said. AJ stood up and said, maybe tone down the rhetoric a little bit and everything would be better. Yesterday was horrible. If you want justice, if you want a fair trial, don't watch yesterday. Bev constantly interrupted. Every time AJ had the word, he didn't say 5 words and she already interrupted him. Brennan, again, yesterday, totally misstated what the defense had said in court in front of Bev. The same Bev who yelled at the defense team for misstatements. And she lets it slide. F you, Bev. They had a talk about the blood draw, how it shouldn't be admissible. Brennan again says everything's fine. The defense don't even know what the rules are because they are misstating what clauses is in the rules that governs this part of a testimony. And Alessi stands up and said, could you at least talk about what I said? Again, he if they say A, he'll stand up and argue that they shouldn't have said B. They didn't say B. He's constantly misstating what the defense is saying. Not a peep from Bevy. Then he claims that you can always prove it because you can just listen to the witness from the first trial. And misstates again what the witness testified to, because he actually said the opposite on cross-examination. Will we see sanctions Thursday, Bevy? No, we won't. It was just a mistake. Lastly, we had a motion to change the court date from April 1st because of the appeal. Most likely won't happen because they have that 1 year backstop on the case. You can run the case with the appeal and then handle it if the appeal comes back positive. Then you can dismiss the trial. I don't know. It's Bevy anyway, so she won't do anything. It'll be April 1st. But it took 2 hours. I got so agitated that I started having tics in my fingers thinking about this case, and I had to go back and watch some of the testimony later. I had tics in my hands when I was done yesterday. This is a little bit of a longer rant than I normally do, but Beverage Bev showed us yesterday that she has no morals. She screams at the defense, claims she was going to impose sanctions, then spends 2 hours listening to Hank lie about what was said in the first trial, what the evidence show, and what the defense says. No problem in that. No fucking problem whatsoever. Sorry. Hanky Panky is worse than Lally. Lally was lying through his teeth constantly, but you kind of didn't mind it as much. Hank Brennan is probably the worst attorney I have seen since I started doing all of my YouTube things. He is misstating everything. He is, I don't know if he's unprepared or he just don't care. Nothing he says holds up. If he had a judge who actually cared about justice, he would leave every single day with a new blowhole to poop out of. That guy is worse than Lally. I'm gonna miss talking about snow, high tops, and what the band played. And instead, I'm gonna buy stock options in some blood pressure medicine company because this is gonna be rough.